Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. We have a great guest today, Joel Gonzalez, Managing Partner and EVP of Sales at More Lending. Joel, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jim.
Hey, and it's not a Joel, right? I forgot to ask you before. I'm in Joel Embiid country here in Philadelphia. So
it's both. It's a little bit of both for sure.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's kind of what everybody's more feels better saying, and okay. I'm like, hey, we go with that one.
Yeah, or how big of a basketball fan they are, I guess, right? So
exactly.
There you go. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining. So we'd love to just hear, what got you into the mortgage industry, what got you to your position at More Lending, and excited to kind of take it from there and talk about a lot of things, sales and otherwise.
Absolutely. So what kind of got me here was a little bit of luck mixed with opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So back in 2020, I was in the University of Florida. I actually was, I ran into some certain issues over there at the University of Florida, was effectively, kind of removed, and then came down here during COVID time. So COVID was happening as part of, this happened in January of 2020. So COVID had happened in March. So my parents told me, hey, come down from there, because I was finishing up the semester, and then, hey, come down and, come live with us. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll go ahead and do that. Then it's coming to around the end of 2020, I would say around September, October. I haven't really done much, haven't really focused on any real activities or any of that sense. And one day I'm out on the boat, and I'm out on the boat with one of my dad's really good friends, and we're just conversing there. And luckily have it, he was starting a mortgage company, and somebody who has never been in the mortgage industry either. That's why I say it's crazy luck. He was actually in the event entertainment industry, and he still is today. But because of COVID, his event shut down, and his buddies who were in the mortgage industry decided to start. And what happened was that we were just there, we were talking, and what kind of happened was he told me, hey, we're starting a mortgage company. My dad's like, hey, he would be great for that. And to me, I was like, what's a mortgage company? I thought mortgages were given at banks, right? Yeah, I thought they were given at banks, Chase, Bank of America, anything like that. So, okay, I was like, hey, look, this guy is really successful. I got nothing to lose. I got nothing really going on. I'm going to go see what he has to say. And this will kind of be my Mr. Miyagi moment, right? Where I'm going to get a really good, wise teacher to teach me the ropes and, get a mentor that I've always been looking for, right? So it was not that, just to kind of let you guys know. Definitely not that. It was, so we moved into the office, and it was crazy because he was moving into that new office they just had gotten the very next day. It was a Sunday. All right, great. I'll go to there on Monday and I'll help you guys set up. So I actually helped them move into the office. We're not in that office anymore today. We actually just left. But I helped them move into the office. I painted the walls. I fixed all the furniture. I did whatever they needed me to do, right? Yeah. And then he kind of paid me and said, okay, have a good day. And I was like, what? That's it?
Yeah.
But then one of the other partners that was there as I was walking out actually told me, hey, and I turned around and I was like, he's like, hey, have you ever thought about getting your mortgage license? And I was like, I have never really thought of that. And then from there, that point forward, I was like, might as well go do it. I started the mortgage license. I finished the 12-hour course. And then when it was time to take my exam, I got COVID actually. So it was great because I could take it online. And taking it online helped me study more because I was quarantined for about 7 days. So I was like, all right, I got nothing to do but study for this exam. Lo and behold, around November 20, I think this will almost marks my 3-year anniversary in the mortgage industry. Lo and behold, I'm a loan officer, and the rest is history, just moving forward from there.
Man, thank you, COVID, I guess, right?
Yeah, no. COVID did a lot of good things. And, and as far as now, I started as a loan officer, and now I'm a managing partner there. So kind of began my journey within the loan industry as a loan officer, kind of quickly leveled up to the top producing loan officer of our company and maintained that threshold. Even with rates going up, I was still producing at a very high level. And then I asked to come in. I said, hey, I see a lot of potential, I see a lot of growth, especially with what we're doing now, especially with Roy George at the helm as well. I was like, hey, I see a lot of potential growth and opportunity. So then I made it. I made my mark. I came into it, and now we sit here as a managing partner and ready to go.
And congrats! Now you're never gonna leave, too. So that's what happens, right? People just get sucked in.
Yeah, now I'm in
Yeah.
the mortgage industry forever.
So coming into the industry fresh, right, and fairly recently in the grand scheme of things, what
Yeah.
do you feel was the most useful thing for your success? Like what has allowed you to, outperform and sell and, get promoted really quickly?
Oh man, my dad used to say it a lot, and I'm going to say it today. It's my ability to I don't know, it's not empathize, my ability to reach people, my ability to
Mm-hmm.
just have a conversation with somebody and be able to actually connect with them in a way, right, where we like each other.
Yeah.
Because truth be told, yes, I do cold
Mm-hmm.
call, I did prospect, I did bring in loans like that. But most of my
Mm-hmm.
relationships have been born from talking to people, just being
Mm-hmm.
in the right place at the right times, making the right conversations, and sticking with them. Because then 3 or 4 or 5 months down the line, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get a phone call and they're like, hey, I
Right.
have a loan for you. I'm like, wow, we haven't spoken in forever, but I'm glad you
Yeah.
thought of me. And that's been my most successful measure because
Mm-hmm.
in my case, I can't tell you that the cold calling was the most successful. The
Yeah.
inconsistent prospecting was the most successful
Right.
because I've tried to replicate my results similarly to other LOs that I've tried to groom and teach,
Mm-hmm.
but those results were not replicated. So I kind of started looking inward and out. It's like, hey, what
Mm-hmm.
is the outlier here that has made me be able to use these methods so
Mm-hmm.
effectively and not
Yeah.
these other LOs? And I figured out it was that.
The ability to connect with people on a
Yes, the
personal
ability to
level. Yeah.
connect and create relationships with people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great too because that's something that often gets missed, especially with younger and younger first-time home buyers. Right? I'm a millennial myself. That I think you're a bit younger than I am,
I'm a Gen
and
Zer.
yeah. So even more so now we have a Gen Zer, right? Like apex of technology here, saying I need to connect and talk to people, and I think it's often not realized how much both generations really want an expert that they trust, opposed to doing everything on their phones.
Very true. Very
Mm-hmm.
true. Very true. I think that when you're talking about the difference of generations, I've noticed it as well, and how we connect and how we do things. And I just think it's a different approach to how we connect,
Yeah.
right? I think that today's day and age, you don't have to go to networking events all the time. You
Right.
don't have to be at every event in
Mm-hmm.
every different place,
Yeah.
right? You can connect through social media, and that's the power of it. That's the
Yeah.
power of being able to relate there, the power of being able to
Mm-hmm.
grow yourself and
Right.
your name and your brand on social
Mm-hmm.
media. And those connections are what last, really.
Mm-hmm. So how have you used that type of technology, social media? I know you have a podcast, so please tell us about that too. How have you leveraged that, to grow that relationship building?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things, that I would talk about on that, right? Social media has been one of the biggest ways that I've been able to establish my brand and myself. So I started my social media journey about 2 years ago, where I would
Mm-hmm.
posting Mortgage Mondays, right? That's what I would call it. The
Mm-hmm.
most basic tagline
Yeah.
any person could ever think of. And I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I had my fiance kind of
Mm-hmm.
film
Mm-hmm.
all the videos for me. She was filming all the videos for me. I bought a $20 very cheap microphone,
Yep.
and from there she was kind of filming it, and then we'd edit it
Yeah.
on a free editor app,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
She would edit them for me. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like editing,
Yeah.
and she would edit them for me, and it was taking us hours to do and whatever. But it started getting traction, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we were posting those every Monday on TikTok and on Instagram. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started to see more loan officers start doing funny TikToks, posting different types of
Mm-hmm.
short skit things, right? And that's where I leveled up into. I said, hey, let me change my whole Instagram around and TikTok and just do the short version of these items, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, that's what I was mainly focusing on for months on end. And then
Mm-hmm.
around May of last year, I took the leap and I said, hey, I need to make better videos. I need to start. I'm seeing the traction that they're getting. I'm getting 50,000 views on my TikToks, but
Wow.
there's some substantial material in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, let's move on to the next one, right? And I got a videographer.
Mm-hmm.
She was great. She helped me actually do my really good videos where I could talk about evidence, talk about data, talk about
Yeah.
research, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
that's done for me is actually giving me a voice. It's actually giving me a brand figure, right? People know me as the mortgage person.
Mm-hmm.
My Instagram handle is called Mortgage Loan Joe.
Mm-hmm.
People call me Mortgage Loan Joe. Like that's what they see me as. They're like, hey, Mortgage Loan Joe, MLJ, just different abbreviations and all that. So it's the brand. It's who I am now. It's what I do and what people there know me as. And actually, fun fact, I actually started my own company for social media production
Oh, wow.
for realtors and MLOs, right? I figured
Hmm.
out, hey, these are such important things that not
Yeah.
a lot of MLOs in our industry are doing. We're not
Hmm.
taking advantage of these webinars, these types of podcasts that we have, these types of channels,
Hmm.
and how easy it is to do things to create that. Because at this point or another, social media is not stopping. Social media is something that's growing bigger and bigger and
Right.
bigger every day. And I think we're at the precipice of it. We're really not at the end, right? Social media,
Right.
Instagram got big in 2011, right? I think Facebook was the first one to come in
Yeah.
2008, around there, earlier than that.
Hmm.
But Instagram there, and it just keeps getting more and more and more. Now you have TikTok that came into the scene 2020, 2019, and is now quickly took over in the last 3 years.
Hmm.
So I think that there's continuing onward momentum, and for you to actually be what I like to say is future proof your business and really
Hmm.
be in front of those, you have to be in front of the consumer's face at all times.
Yeah.
And that's what social media has been able to do for me in
One, the
that aspect.
branding of yourself, I think, is so smart, right? The ability to be, when people see you, they think mortgage loan Joe, perfect. Like,
Brand
glad
recognition.
you mentioned it too. I'm going to be looking that up on Instagram right after this.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not on TikTok, but I will follow you on Instagram.
You
So,
should get on TikTok. I will tell you that.
I'm a
No,
37-year-old dad. I don't need to be on TikTok.
listen, man, there's
I don't
plenty
need
of
to be on
37-year
TikTok.
olds on TikTok. I will tell
Yeah,
you that.
I don't know. I don't know.
But in terms of that, I just like to use as many of these platforms as I can to my
Hmm.
advantage. There's definitely consumer segments that you would use
Yeah.
depending on what your target audience is, target demographic is, right?
Hmm.
If I'm trying to reach an older audience, I'm not going to go on TikTok. I'm not going to try to
Right.
reach a 37-year-old dad on TikTok. I'm going to try to reach a 37-year-old dad on
Hmm.
Facebook, Instagram, something to that capacity.
So it feels like you're
With
kind of an outlier with the amount of success that you've had too, so quickly in social media. But you're working now with loan officers, both at More Lending, that you're managing, as well as folks through your production company. What,
yeah.
for someone starting out, like what does success look like? Like what are you kind of coaching them to do, to
That's a good
leverage
question.
social
That's a
media?
good question.
Hmm.
Success in any aspect that you put it in when you're starting out, success is your consistency. It's
Yeah.
your ability to do the same thing day in, day
Hmm.
out without seeing any results.
Hmm.
That's success. There are multiple times when I post videos that have 200 views, and the next day I post the same video that has 200 views. And for 4 or 5 months stretch, I'm still posting the same video, and they're actually decreasing in views. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's who cares? I'm still out there. I'm doing the same thing day in and day out. And that's what
Hmm.
success is for anybody that starts.
Yep.
Right now, I think we're in a unique time period where um, when people were joining the mortgage industry in 2021, 2020, and whatnot, it was
Hmm.
almost instant success. It was almost instant results and metrics
Hmm.
right away. They never got to feel the lull of actually becoming a loan officer and
Yeah.
joining that industry and really working for it, right? Now they're
Hmm.
feeling it and they're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
I'm not successful. If you're showing up to the office every day, if you're making your calls, if you're posting on social media, if you're networking on
Yeah.
social media, man, you are successful.
Being
It's just a
here is
matter of time.
successful, right? If you keep showing up, like, and that's one thing I've learned in the 10 years of Lodestar, is you keep showing up with the same name badge, people view that as success. You're doing something right one way or another. So,
It's just, failure does not like, I forget, there's a quote, I was
hmm.
reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill recently.
Hmm.
It's like failure cannot withstand persistence. It just
Yeah.
can't,
And I read
so
that
it's,
about a year or so ago.
yeah, I actually read it every year. So this
Hmm.
is my my read of the year right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, right. Like, exactly. It's not failing if you're continuing to persist through it. And I think that's tough for people to realize too, that you have to get through that for it to continue. This is our fourth season of the podcast. Like you, my first guest was actually my wife too. So,
Really?
just anything to get started, just talking about how she felt about home ownership, right? And being able to have that consistency and making that easier. And that's one thing I always tell people is, if it feels like work, you're not going to continue to do it, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
you have to feel like we're not performing here, we're recording, right? Like you have to feel like these are conversations, there's things that you'd be telling people anyway. If you don't want to be on video, right? If you don't want to be on a formal podcast, just get your phone. Like there's just so many other ways to do it. And I think you have to do what really feels like natural and organic for you.
Yeah, I think that's extremely agreeable. If
Yeah.
not even, I would say to people, if being on a webinar or doing a podcast or a
Yeah.
Zoom doesn't feel comfortable for you, then go hire somebody you're already going to do an act. Go hire somebody to go film it, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to, if you're going to do a training for realtor's office, hire
Yeah.
somebody to film that training. You're
Right.
doing something natural that comes out.
Yeah.
And a lot of my videos are of that manner. My videos are really free flowing. So my podcast, I don't know if I had we mentioned it, but I didn't really tell you guys. It's actually starting now, right? Like we're actually launching it, right? It's the More Money podcast.
More Money
So
podcast.
it's with Roy and I. We have a studio in our office. We filmed the first episode about a week ago. It's getting ready to be posted and launched and whatnot. But the entire premise of that podcast is to have a funny, laid back type of feel to the market, right? We don't want to bore people with just, hey, loans, great, market outlook, being a loan officer, how many, you got the loan officer podcast, you got the mortgage marketing analyst podcast. You have so many podcasts that are like that, but we just want to really just kind of be free flowing. We want to talk serious. We want to combine the experience that Roy George has of being in the mortgage industry for 27 years and the lack of experience that I have, but the humor and the fun sense and the kind of
fresh perspective, right?
Yeah, go lucky young attitude, right? Gung ho young lucky young attitude.
I think a lot of that is important, right? Especially when I look back when I started my company at 26. Like you're kind of blissfully ignorant, and that's what allows you to be more persistent. Because if you told me what the next 10 years would be look like, I would probably say, no, okay, I'm good, right?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, pass, right?
I'll
I think
pass
that's
on
true
that
for
one.
a lot of things in life. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's also in that sense, I kind of like the unknown. I think you have to have a certain level of faith in what you're doing here, and this is not for the weak-willed. It's really not. Being in the mortgage industry is tough, and I'm young. I don't. This is my first recession that I've experienced, and Roy's going on his third. So I'm here, and I'm like, man, this is easy. Like this is okay.
And it's kind of interesting to see from your experience, because there's a lot of people I know who, in the boom time of the early 2000s, they had a family friend, kind of similar story to you, got into the industry, survived through the subprime crisis, the Great Recession, got to some position in the industry, and now they're there. They're a leader in the industry. And now that's happening all over again because you have that COVID, that 2020, 2021, record market. And now we're seeing the downside of that. So we're seeing the folks who, survive through that and come back. So it's kind of cool to see that cycle. And one thing that you had mentioned in the beginning is kind of continuing to perform in sales as interest rates go up in this environment. Do you feel like your sales approach has changed now from, a year or two ago where, 4 interest rate points ago?
Yeah, I think that it absolutely has changed. I think that about a year ago or two, right, it was very direct sales approach. I would cold call and I would say, hey, I want to work with you, or I want to kind of be on working with you, and let's get a loan in, let's do this, right? Now it's more like, hey, how are you? Who are you? What do you do? What do you work as? Oh, let's build a great relationship. I don't care if you send me a deal. If you want to, great, go ahead. But if you need me for anything, if you need calls, if you need anything like that, let me know. It's a very much more mild approach as far as creating a relationship, because what a lot of people, and I don't want to say don't understand, but what a lot of people aren't seeing is the next 4 to 5 years, right? You talked about it. People who made it through the subprime and then got out, those were the people who made it, who did a good 10-year spurt of absolute dominance, right? And that's what I'm looking forward to right now. Right now, I'm looking at laying foundations and laying a base and really saying, hey, I'll make the connections with you. I'll introduce myself to you. Let's talk. Let's hang out. If you want to send me a deal, great. If you don't, great as well. Whatever you need. And now I know.
Then they talk to someone who's buying and they know someone, right? So
yeah, exactly. So it's all about, hey, whatever relationships I have at this moment, I want you to talk to me about, and let's continue to grow those relationships. And right now, being very relationship based and less transaction based is how I'm going to be winning this market, and how we are as a company winning in this market.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I really love the way you then go and leverage technology to build those relationships too. And one thing
Absolutely.
I've seen with podcasts, it's helped a little bit with clients, but honestly, when people are coming into as a potential employee, that's where it's the biggest help because they say, hey, I listened to your podcast. I feel like I know you now. Right. And you being able to say that to someone who's about to, have such a large transaction with your help, I think goes a huge way. So that person, like the amount that you feel like you can know someone by listening to them in this format, I think is really, really important. And like I said at the beginning, our 20 minutes always goes fast here. So I wanted to ask the wrap-up question. Here at Lodestar, we talk about what inspires you. That's the name Lodestar. It's a guiding light. So what motivates you to do all of this now, to get up there, to sell, to train, to have a production company, to start a podcast?
Yeah. So what motivates me to my deepest core, my why, is my future wife and my family.
Mm-hmm.
Really setting that up and that foundation up. I'm 24 years old. I'm getting married now next year in April. And
Congrats.
thank you. What really sets it up for me is letting them know
Yeah.
and being able to provide and making sure that I know, hey, failure is not an option. It's just not, right? I get up every morning and I think about, hey, providing them with the life that they deserve. My fiance is wonderful in every single way. She has supported me from when I was at my lowest low in 2020 to now when I continuously ramped up and when I haven't been even my best, right? So it's all about that providing and being able to grow that for them and for that future family and everything there. So I think that's the main driver and everything I do. And when I don't feel energized or great, I kind of think about that and I'm like, all right, I got to get this going because they deserve more from me.
And I have a very similar journey to my wife helping me when I was at my low point with the business and coming on. It's a great motivator. I think a tenet of Think and Grow Rich, like you mentioned too, of like failure is not an option, right?
Failure is not.
Remove failure as an option, and you're able to really focus on going forward. And I've had one of my proudest moments was when I was able to add my newborn daughter to our health insurance, right? So like those types of things. And like, so I wish, those types of moments for you going forward. It's been great to have you on the podcast. Where can folks find you? I want you to plug all of your things one more time here.
Absolutely. So folks can find me on Instagram. I'm most prevalent there at Mortgage Loan Joe. They will kind of see my new production company as well. It's called Golden Light Media. If they're having any, they can reach out directly there. They can find me on Facebook just under Joel Gonzalez, LinkedIn as well, Joel Gonzalez, and TikTok at Mortgage Loan Joe as well if you want to laugh a little bit instead of just being informed all the time.
Don't think I'll download TikTok, but I will follow you on Instagram.
Jim, you should download TikTok.
We'll see.
You don't know the kind of stuff that you see there that can actually inspire you.
Maybe. We'll see. Well, Joel, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it. Take care.